Hello and welcome, folks. Plasmir. I have a universe draft for you guys today. This is going to be the AI draft. Now, I have 4 AIs here in my draft tool. We have Vince, Regal, Paul, and Mauro, and they're each going to be drafting for a show in my AI universe mode. One of the cool features of WWE 2K17 is it allows you now to have multiple universe modes. And I've always been the kind of person that really likes seeing what the AI can do. So that's what this universe mode is going to be. It's going to primarily be a clip show showing you what the AI decides to do, what matches it books, what rivalries it does, what champions are made. Now, getting into that, the first draft pick for each brand will be the champion. Now, if it's a singles wrestler, it'll be the world champion. If it's a female person, they will be the women's champion. If it is a tag team, they will be the tag team champion. Each show will get their own title of each respective type, and a secondary title, which will be first handed off to the 5th singles individual. Now, the roster limit is around 32. Now, I have enabled the tag teams, so a brand can draft a team together. So if they want to, say, take the Wild family, they'll get all 4 guys. So that roster limit is a bit flexible, but 30 seems to be a good round number for a decent size. And that is most of the roster of the game without DLC. I have not removed anybody. I've added the NXT DLC as I have it, and Goldberg as a pre-order DLC. Now, if a single brand drafts multiple of the same person, they are simply removing it from the other brands from being able to use them. So say if someone drafts Undertaker and then drafts Undertaker 00 and then drafts Undertaker 91, they will only use the first Undertaker, and they are simply hate drafting the other two, which is a term of from Magic. It would be to take a card that you're not going to actually use, but you don't want someone else to have. So we will see if that particularly happens. Now, just to show you guys what's going on with these guys, Vince cares more about history and height. Mauro prefers high flyers. Regal prefers NXT stars. And Paul prefers strong champions. I am putting this as a snake draft style. I do not know who will be getting the first draft pick. And I can show you the roster. I have not added any CODs. I will be leaving the CODs to my own personal universe mode, in which I'll make my own settings. You can see here that I've added the DLC on here, and then the teams are here as follows. If this looks all new to you, this tool, I have a tutorial video, which I will link in the description as to how to use this tool. Now we will get started here, and I will try to show on the background here as the roster as it gets started. Oop, wrong button. Here we go. Start. Regal has picked Paige. So the first champion overall is Paige. Let's go over here. Next draft pick. She will be the NXT Women's Champion over on NXT. Mauro has picked the Usos. So that is Jimmy and Jey Uso. 2 high flyers for the CWC. I'm not sure if they're actually lightweights. However, with the way that this is, the CWC will not be exclusively cruiserweight. It will be more targeted towards cruiserweights, I would say. The next pick is D-Generation X for Vince. That is not particularly much of a surprise. Next in the draft is going to be Paul. Paul will be getting 2 picks in a row due to the snake nature. Chris Jericho 01 and Bam Bam Bigelow. So 2 very interesting picks there. Chris Jericho is going to be his champion. Now Bam Bam is a ECW alumni, if I recall correctly, and Paul is inclined towards ECW alumni. Next, we'll be going back to Vince, who picks the Ultimate Warrior. He would actually be the first singles competitor, making him the Raw champion, actually. Mauro has picked another tag team, American Alpha. That is just excellent. So the CWC getting a lot of draft picks with these early tag teams. Next is Regal, which is going to get 2 picks in a row. The Wyatt family. and The New Day. It seems that Big E did not actually have a little card from the WWE website. I double-checked and I wasn't able to find it, so let's see. We'll get back to this draft now. Next pick is Mauro with the Brothers of Destruction. Okay, I guess he can't really help himself picking these huge tag teams. Vince picked Big Show. And Vince has his big, tall men with lots of strength. Over to the next one. Paul has picked another Chris Jericho. So that is once again going to be just hate drafting the original one. So he picked both Chris Jerichos. Very big on Chris Jericho is Paul, as Paul now picks Stunning Steve Austin for Paul as we go back. And Vince has picked Big Boss Man. Mauro has picked the Lucha Dragons. Up next, we get Regal picking the Boss Sasha Banks. And then picking Sami Zayn. So Sami Zayn is the first individual pick for Regal. So Sami Zayn will be the NXT champion. So just taking stock here, we've got the tag team champions of D-Generation X, the tag team champions of the Wyatt family, the Usos as tag team champions, and no tag team champions on SmackDown. Chris Jericho 01, The Ultimate Warrior, Sami Zayn, and no one yet for the CWC. Now Regal picking Sami Zayn. We go on to next to Mauro picking Neville, a very high flyer. And that will actually be the Cruiserweight champion, as he's the first singles competitor. As some might say, he should be one of the in the mix at the actual Cruiserweight division on Raw. Vince has picked Big Show, once again hate drafting, removing the Big Show from any other show. Paul has picked Rick Rude. Because Chris Jericho has been picked twice, I'm going to remove him from the line and just hide him and then move Stunning Steve Austin and Rick Rude over, because Rick Rude is not getting the secondary championship. He will be one of the top 4 competitors for that top title. Next pick, we have Paul picking Stone Cold Steve Austin. So once again, picking another player that he's already removed, removing him from anyone else using him. Next, Vince has picked Bret the Hitman Hart. Next up, Mauro has picked the Outsiders. Scott Hall and Kevin Nash building up that tag team division. I guess Mauro really likes the tag teams. Now we'll see if some of these huge tag teams end up breaking up at all. We'll have to see about that. Regal has picked Breezango, so Fandango and Tyler Breeze. Next up, Regal has picked Blake and Murphy. The 2 Australians going over to NXT, and they've got a decent tag team division now. Next pick, Mauro has picked John Cena. Neville is going to have a hard time keeping on to that title with John Cena as his top competitor. Next, Vince has picked Goldberg, a classic competitor who has a lot of titles and will be starting out with the secondary title on Raw, so perhaps a U.S. title, I believe. Yes. Next pick, Paul has picked Brian Pillman. Brian Pillman will be the secondary champion, the Intercontinental Champion for SmackDown Live. Paul has then picked Lita, who will be the SmackDown Women's Champion. A great pick overall. Vince has picked Triple H. Now that is going to be another hate draft, as keeping him a part of the D-Generation X and not letting anyone else have him. Getting a fair amount of them going on so far, which I think is kind of expected. You know, people will think the AA will think 2 guys that are separate but are kind of equal and want to get both of them if they can. Mauro has picked Seth Rollins. I'm kind of excited by this particular roster. This roster is pretty cool too for the tag team division. Next pick, Regal has picked The Revival. Next pick, Regal has picked Hideo Itami, a great rival for Sami Zayn. Next up, Mauro has picked Edge. Vince has picked the Bushwhackers. think he wants to keep D-Generation X over. At least that might be part of the situation there. Next up, Paul has picked Tatsumi Fujinami. Interestingly enough, Paul has not picked any tag teams as of yet, which is interesting to me. Next up, Paul has picked John Bradshaw Layfield, who could be considered one of the faces of SmackDown. Next up, Vince has picked the British Bulldog. Mauro has picked Finn Balor. Very nice pick to go this late. It seems that Mauro has the right idea for my kind of sensibility at the very least. Perhaps Paul and Vince are too behind the times. Next up, Regal has picked The Ascension, another tag team. Regal also selects Samoa Joe. Mauro has picked Randy Savage. Actually, an interesting pick comparing to the rest of them, although Randy Savage does have a pretty good high-flying stat if I recall correctly. Now, if I look at this, Finn Balor will actually be the secondary champion on the Cruiserweight Classic. Now, I'm not entirely sure if I want to make the secondary title a Cruiserweight title on this brand. It might just be that the brand might be all about the high flyers. Vince has picked another version of Triple H, this time Hunter Hearst Helmsley, so Triple H will only be in D-Generation X. Next up, Paul has picked Sheamus, a multiple-time champion with a lot of strength and durability behind him. Would be good for his particular viewpoint. Next up, Paul has picked the Bella Twins. Now he got a cute little pick on that because he gets to get two divas when there isn't going to be a divas tag team title. That is because there isn't really enough tag teams for the divas without me adding a bunch of costs or making them all on one brand. So we will have Nikki and Brie Bella both going to SmackDown Live, fixing a bit of his diva problem. Vince hasn't picked any divas yet. Vince has picked Mark Henry, the world's strongest man. Mauro has now picked the New Age Outlaws. He's got some old school flavor and some new school high flyers here in this brand. Regal has now picked Emma. Hopefully we will start to see the Divas division, or rather the women's divisions, fill out here as now Regal has picked Charlotte. Perhaps Regal has seen what the roster is looking like, what is left over, as we're getting through a fair amount of the roster so far. We're on pick number 49, and we've got about a third of the way through the roster. Mauro has picked Cesaro. A great pick to compete for that secondary title. Next up, we have Vince picking the Honky Tonk Man. That is an error on my part. Honky Tonk Man is not actually in WWE 2K17. I accidentally have him enabled. I'll make a note to fix that in my draft tool, and Vince will have lost a pick because I don't have a way to fix it. Next up, Paul has picked Alberto Del Rio. That's a bit of a shame for Vince, but I'm sure he can make up for it. Paul has picked Jim the Anvil Neidhart. Now, with the British Bulldog and Bret Hart, he could have a decent tag team with those two if he wants, if the AI decides to make it. I will have any team formations and anything such as that also enabled if the AI decides to use it. Vince has picked The Rock. That's good for him. Rock will have to sort of crawl up the ladder a bit, but I'm sure he's fine with that. Booker T for Mauro Ranallo, as we see Mauro's roster start to really fill in. Regal has picked Daniel Bryan. Oh, he's a crowd favorite. And who else is he picking? He is picking the Vaudevillains, which would be Aiden English and Simon Gotch. Now, noticing that, I don't think AJ Styles has been picked yet. Neither has Shinsuke Nakamura. Very interesting. We'll have to see where those two individuals end up going and why they've been picked so late. Mauro has picked Los Matadores, Fernando and Diego, trying to fill up his roster with high flyers. Next up, Vince has picked Kane. So one of the Kanes has been part of the Brothers of Destruction, but the other Kane gets to also be on Raw. Next up, Paul has picked The Miz, a great heel. I think Paul prefers heels at least a little bit. Paul has also picked Mr. McMahon. That's a interesting little wrinkle. I mean, Mr. McMahon is a competitor in WWE 2K17, so it's fair enough to have him in that roster. They have him labeled as Vince. They have him labeled as Vince McMahon. Next up, Vince has picked The Rock. Once again, Vince has done a lot of these picks that have been making his roster fairly small. It's kind of interesting. Next, we have Mauro picking Mankind. Interesting that Mauro has not really picked any divas as of yet. It's kind of interesting that Mauro hasn't picked any women as of yet. Regal has picked Kevin Owens. Very nice pick there for Regal. It's almost to the point if we can maybe kill off Raw, at least in my mind. Regal has picked Enzo Amore and Big Cass, another great team. Now, I guess this can show how different these AIs can be, and how if you're drafting against them, you can end up with someone that wants all the guys that you want, or someone that doesn't want anyone that you want. Next up, we have Mauro picking Christian. Mauro's roster is getting pretty filled up over there. Vince has picked Randy Orton. Paul has picked the one-man brand, Heath Slater. He's actually fairly in the middle of the pack for this one, as we're starting to get down to the lower parts of the draft. Paul has also picked Natalya. Vince has picked the show-off Dolph Ziggler, a former champion. Nobody's picked the Dudley Boys. There's another group I've noticed. Mauro has picked the Enforcers, which are Arn Anderson and Larry Zbyszko. Mauro is just chock full of all of the wrestlers. No hate drafting, lots of tag teams, not even bothering with any women, which is kind of interesting. Regal has picked Apollo Crews, the NXT DLC, the first of the 3 NXT DLC characters that has been drafted. Next is Regal picking Dana Brooke. So Mauro has picked Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. I originally thought that this would be big enough to hold all of the rosters, although I'm not entirely sure if that will be the case anymore. Or at least it won't be entirely organized. Vince has picked Jack Swagger, another former world champion. Paul has picked Nia Jax. If you do end up making a draft with this tool, make sure to let me know, because I would be... AJ Lee is not in the game. I made a mistake there. Sorry, Paul, you've now lost a pick. Vince has picked Zack Ryder. Something is up with Vince McMahon, and he's just picking some interesting characters. Mauro has picked Sting, the first Sting to be drafted, and we will see if we will get more Sting picks soon. Next, Regal has picked Carmella, and I'll have to start putting other women down here. Regal has picked Summer Rae. Regal and Mauro looking really filled out. Vince looking kind of low. Paul looking a little bit low. He hasn't picked any tag teams as of yet. Mauro has picked Cactus Jack. Would make sense as he likes Mankind. He would probably also like Cactus Jack. Next up, Vince has picked the Natural Disasters. That would be Earthquake and Typhoon. Next up, Paul has picked Brock Lesnar. A very late pick, but could be considered a steal here, getting his client Brock Lesnar on the SmackDown brand. Paul has also picked Undertaker 91, so let's go over to the Undertaker. Vince has picked Rusev, the Bulgarian Brute. I've always been a fan of Rusev for a very long time. Two other individuals I've noticed haven't been drafted yet, I would have to say, are Dean Ambrose and Roman Reigns. So I've not noticed that they have been drafted anywhere as of yet. Mauro has picked Vader. Now, I believe this was because Mauro is a fan of those from New Japan. And Vader has been a part of New Japan, as has Cactus Jack. Next pick, Darren Young for Regal. We'll make Darren Young great again as a singles competitor. Regal has picked All Red Everything Eva Marie. Mauro has picked AJ Styles. That is another very late pick. Very strong, like Brock. Next up, Vince is picking Baron Corbin. Nice, tall guy. Paul has picked Tamina. Having Tamina and Nia Jax on the same brand is quite interesting, although it would make sense. Paul has also picked The Undertaker, so there will be no modern Undertaker. There will be the bike Undertaker, and then, or actually I think he got the classic Undertaker, and then the bike Undertaker with the Brothers of Destruction. So we're getting down to it. We got Tyson Kidd up as the next one up there. Vince has picked Titus O'Neil. Another very tall wrestler, a lot of strength. Very strong guys over on Raw. Mauro has picked his first woman. And it is Bayley. Bayley is going to be the champion on the Cruiserweight show. Regal has picked Corey Graves, which is not in the game. These are some bugs as I haven't gone through them in this much detail previously. But it's okay. Vince has lost a pick. Paul has lost a pick. Regal has lost a pick now. Mauro is the only one that hasn't lost a pick. Regal has, however, gotten Becky Lynch. Next up, we have Mauro picking Ric Flair. Vince has picked his first female competitor, and that's Alundra Blaze. And there's Alundra Blaze right there. We've got two shows with only one female competitor, and I'm not sure how many more female competitors are really left. Paul has picked Stephanie McMahon. Well, there's one of them going. You have to think, if they only select the one female competitor, that it could be a wasted pick because you can't really have any interesting shows with only the one on there. Paul has also picked Alicia Fox, trying to seal out the rest of that women's roster. Trying to think of who else is left for the women. I see Trish Stratus back there, which would be a very nice pick. Vince has picked Curtis Axel. Next up, we have Mauro picking Dean Ambrose. Past pick 100. Wow. For the he was very recently a world champion. Regal has picked Asuka. Wow, and I had completely forgotten about her when I was trying to think of other women in the roster, and Regal has a lot of women on his roster. Regal's also picked Bo Dallas. I have to add Bo Dallas on here, and I'll have to start putting Regal's wrestlers over here because he got the Wyatt family and so many tag teams. Mauro has picked the Dudley Boys. Very nice of Mauro. Vince has picked Andre the Giant, a really legendary wrestler, able to be added on to his roster. Paul has picked Shinsuke Nakamura. Great pick for SmackDown Live, able to liven up that brand a bit more, giving Paul 2 of the NXT exclusives. Paul has also picked Dude Love, giving 1 of the personas of Mick Foley over to SmackDown Live. Now, Cactus Jack and Mankind, I personally feel like they're different people and that they should both be on the show. However, I hope that the AI don't actually make them in the same match together. That's why I initially made that rule, is I was afraid that, especially if they were around the same rank, that the show would pit them against themselves too often. Vince has picked Trish Stratus, able to make a 2-female roster at the very least. We'll be able to see how many more come down the line. We see Stardust back there behind Tyson Kidd. Mauro picking Diamond Dallas Page. I'm just going to slip him over here. Regal picking Alexa Bliss. Able to find another woman in that roster when I can't remember them. Regal also getting Roman Reigns, the Roman Reigns is a really big pick. And very interesting that he's going to SmackDown, not to NXT. Mauro has picked the Golden Truth, which is Gold Dust and R-Truth. I know that there's Stardust and Tyson Kidd in there. I'm not sure who else is in there. Vince has picked Layla. So Vince has 3 women in his roster. Except Layla's not in the game, so he lost another pick. I kind of wish that they were evenly spread out. But, you know what? Since Vince has lost one and Mauro hasn't lost any, if Mauro doesn't pick another woman, I will give Vince Bailey, which will make a 3-woman roster. Paul has picked Jake the Snake Roberts. Next up, we have Paul picking Tyson Kidd. We have Vince picking Diesel. Now this Diesel over here is in fact Kevin Nash. And Mauro has picked Sting from 91. Now that is actually a pick he already has, so it will be just keeping the modern day Sting. Regal has picked Stardust. As we're getting to what I believe are the last few picks coming in. We've got Shane McMahon, Rikishi, that I can see there. Regal has picked Lex Luger. Mauro has picked Mr. Perfect. Vince has picked Rikishi. Paul has picked Razor Ramon. And Sting 99. So we will not be seeing any Surfer Sting in this AI universe. Next up, Vince has picked Dusty Rhodes. I still see Naomi back there. So Vince could get Naomi or Mauro. And I seem to have an error going on here. Well, you can see now the rosters as they lay now. We've got Naomi and Shane. So let's do some fixing here, as I seem to have made an error in my program because the teams were not even, the picks weren't even, the last 2 got left off the list. So Naomi, I also should check if those are enabled. I will check and update my program. We will give Naomi to Vince and take Bailey from Mauro and give him Shane. I think that's the best way to even out these rosters a little bit so that at least Vince has a 4-woman roster. Mauro gets to keep all the picks that he was able to get. And for the one we take away from him, we at least give him something in return, in the terms of Shane McMahon, which isn't the best, but you can see Mauro has a lot of wrestlers. So does Regal. I thought that these would fit, but I didn't expect this to be so lopsided in terms of one brand, a couple of brands picking up all the tag teams and a couple of teams groups just kind of ignoring them. Paul didn't pick a single tag team, so Paul will not have a tag team championship. While he will have a decently contended women's championship, Vince will be having a small roster for his tag teams and for his women, and will have a large roster for the singles. Regal will have a rather large women's division, a sizable men's division, and a sizable tag team division. And Mauro will have no women's division, a fair amount of good tag teams, and a fair amount of singles competitors. I'm going to save these rosters and start inputting them into my copy of WWE 2K17, and we will get into the game fairly shortly. This has been taking a while for me to actually record. I don't know how long it's going to take to edit down, but if you've been with me for this entire draft, I sincerely thank you, as I'm sure it's taken quite a while to go through these, but I find this fairly interesting, and I want to know what you guys have drafted, if you've used this tool, or if you drafted your own style of universe mode. Let me know how you do universe mode, because I've wanted to try something like this, but I've been kind of restricted for also wanting to do my own story, but with multiple stories of universe mode, this is this is going to be helpful to be able to have a secondary save of just the AI doing its thing and seeing what happens. You know, we always get the stories of Zack Ryder winning the championship at WrestleMania. We'll see if that happens. And if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe for more. This has been Posum, and I sincerely thank you for your time.